our CEO for Bay East, is here to enlighten us on everything that's happening with our industry. Right?
Thank you. Good morning. Okay, I'm going to tell you about some conversations I've been having lately. A broker comes up to me and says, oh, wait, hang on. Before I do, there's a dignitary. I don't know if we acknowledge her, Rhonda. Rhonda, your board of directors member? Yeah, hey, Rhonda. So a broker comes up to me, says, took a listing 3 days ago, put it on the MLS. My seller's asking me, why isn't it on Zillow? An agent comes up to me and says, you know, I sold a listing 3 weeks ago. It's still on Zillow. In fact, it's not just on Zillow, it's on about 100 different sites out there. Get it off. I realize that most of our members aren't understanding what's happening with listing syndication. So I've been doing a roadshow, going to offices, going to marketing meetings, talking about listing syndication, because I think it's a conversation that you should be having anytime you take a listing. You should be make sure that you understand what's going on with that listing, and make sure that the client understands. So listings everywhere. Okay, listing syndication, is it a nightmare or is it an opportunity? So what is listing syndication? It's a term that's used to describe a decision by a broker to put a listing that his or her agent takes on a portal. And that would be Realtor.com, Homes.com, Zillow, Tricia, etc. So what happens, how do you get to the listing syndication decision? What happens when you put that listing into the MLS? You're prompted with a couple of options. If you say yes, I want to put the listing out into the internet, you're going to be asked, do you want full or partial address? You make that decision, and then the MLS will send the data out to a very limited set of third parties. We're required to send it out to every agent and broker who has an IDX site. IDX, Internet Data Exchange. That's your websites where you have your home search. We also send it to Realtor.com, Homes.com, and a company called Proxio, which is an international listing site, listing portal. Let's say you say no, you don't want any of your listings in your office to go anywhere on the internet. They don't go anywhere. But it means it's a reciprocal agreement. It means that you, if you select no on all your listings, will not be able to show any other agent or any other broker's listings on your website. At the association, since Internet Data Exchange it's a national mandate, since it was put into effect, we had one broker who said no, realized that it was a mistake, and then went back and said yes. So we have no brokers who said no to IDX or to the internet. You may have a seller, however, who says, you know, I don't want this particular listing, I don't want my home to be on the internet. So we have a form for that, the SELI, and that's where the seller is advising you, directing you to exclude that listing from any display on the internet. You have to have an SELI form signed if you want that listing excluded. Listings are owned by the broker. And they have complete control over what happens to that listing. So how do listings get out there? You could have to, and I'm going to use Zillow a lot today because that's right now the #1 listing portal site. Some brokers have a direct feed, and they say we want all of our listings to go to the following site. They may have a third party that sends it out. So they'll go to Zillow, they'll go to Tricia, any other site that they select. Another way to do it is through the multiple listing service. We have a vehicle called List Hub, and again, this is just for the broker to decide. It should be the broker who decides on what the listing distribution is going to be. And then we have a new tool that I'll talk about in a second where the MLS is doing some syndication directly through the MLS. Okay, I'm going to show you some information about listing syndication. And I don't want you to think that what I'm talking about is any kind of a judgment, because there are some risks associated with this. Listing syndication is a business decision that the broker makes. And it's a decision that hopefully the broker is making after consulting with the client. you need to make sure that you are reading the terms of use of these syndication agreements, because this is where a lot of the problems are occurring, and there is some potential risk. And I'm going to take a look at the Zillow agreement. Zillow, so just to be clear, Bay East MLS doesn't send all of your listings to Zillow automatically. We do automatically send your listings to Realtor.com. We've been doing that for over a decade because they are very Realtor-centric. We do to Homes.com and Proxio, but we do not automatically send your listings to Trulia or Zillow. There's a lot of controversy surrounding those sites. We do have in place an MLS syndication tool called Bridge, where you can now syndicate your listings through the MLS, through Bridge to Trulia. We are working with Zillow to do the same thing. But at the end of the day, it's not our decision as the MLS, it's your decision representing the client to understand the best places to send the listings. What has happened is that a lot of agents are going directly to Zillow and putting the listing in. And the reason is because your clients want the maximum exposure. Zillow is the #1 site right now. So just be very careful and cautious and make sure, again, you understand the terms of use because they're a little bit scary. So it's very, very short. When you go to put if you're an agent, by the way, you should be talking to your broker too, to make sure that the broker understands the terms that you're agreeing to when you put this listing on these sites. I'm going to highlight in red what you should be concerned about. When you say, yes, I'm putting the listing into Zillow.com, very, very shortly, it will also automatically go to Trulia.com. Zillow acquired Trulia last year, and it was approved by FTC 2 months ago, 3 months ago. So pretty soon, all the listings that you want to go to Trulia automatically appear on Zillow. Likewise, Zillow, they'll automatically appear on Trulia. So to put that listing in, you're agreeing to a couple of things. The first is you're agreeing to allow Zillow to create derivative products. Okay, what is that? You know what a Zestimate is? A Zestimate is a derivative product. So for all the agents who are frustrated out there because Zestimates are so inaccurate, you're actually giving authority to Zillow to be able to use your data to make those Zestimates more accurate. So I don't know if that's a good thing or that's a bad thing. Some agents are concerned that's going to disintermediate them in the future. If the consumer can go straight to a Zestimate, or do you need an agent to get a value on a property? I'll just get a Zestimate. So when you put the listing in, they're able to create these derivative products, and the Zestimate is one. You're giving them a perpetual license to use that information. So even after your listing is sold, you've given them the rights to use that data forever and ever and ever and do whatever they want to do. Zillow is building something called a basic database. They're taking public records and then they are going to other sites and they're blending all that information. What they want to do is they want to create a national database which is richer than anything else out there, that has more data than anything out there. So when they take the listing, they're going to compare that information to what they have, and then they're going to update their data. Is it something to worry about in the future? If you believe that Zillow will be there always as a benefit for realtors, then maybe it's not something to worry about, but it's something to be aware of.
I have a question.
Yes, Vicki.
When you put these on the MLS and they put them on to those different sites, they're selling them to other people and their names come up and your name doesn't come up as that listing. And that's where I think it's bad. And why can't we have our names on our listings, and why should Zillow and Tricia and all these other ones sell it to other people to say that these are our listings? And it happens all over the world, because I'm working with Hawaii right now, and it's happening even there. And you call these people, and you don't even know who the agent is. I think that the agent needs to be on there, and it needs to show that they are the listing agent and not all these other people that take all of them, because they get them all. And they say that they're all their listings, and they have 0 listings. Come on, something needs to be done about this.
And I couldn't have said it better. And what's interesting is we're not sending your listings out. It's the agent that is putting the listing on Zillow. So is you the agent, when you put your listing on Zillow,
And how
you're allowing, okay, well, we'll get into that. You're allowing that to occur. And that's my point when I started was agents don't know that. They'll come to me and they're angry at me and the association for sending their listings out to these sites, when in fact it's the agent who's doing it. So there are two ways it happens. First way is what we're talking about right now, and that's when you do it directly. You put that listing in, and you're giving them permission to do whatever they want with that listing, to sell leads off of it, you've given them a perpetual license. Zillow may also create derivative works that don't include the data in identifiable form, data being your listing information, and that's the Zestimates. And they can use the data for promotional purposes in a contextually relevant manner. What the heck does that mean? I think it means exactly what Vicki said. It means that we can use this information and sell leads off of it. And you've just given them permission to do that. You represent that you have all the rights necessary to grant Zillow the rights in the previous paragraph on behalf of yourself, the brokerage, or property management company that you represent. So when you put that listing in, you're now saying that you have the right to do this. The broker has given you the right to do this. Better make sure that the broker has given you that right. You are warranting that the data complies with all applicable laws, ordinances, regulations, and licenses. That Zillow's exercise of the rights that you've just given them don't violate any proprietary or personal rights of any third party, including the property owner. Do you know that you have that right on behalf of the property owner? And it's particularly frustrating when that property sells and it's still on a site somewhere. And it may not just be the Zillow site. Zillow has other affiliated brands. They also have other affiliated licensees. Yahoo is one. So they're sending your data out to other places, and you may not even be aware of it. You are also warranting that the information provided below is accurate and complete. Oh, this is my favorite. You promise to indemnify and defend them and its affiliates, which, by the way, you don't even know who they are, from any claims related to your data. So I hope it's accurate data, and I hope that it doesn't violate any federal laws, any fair housing laws. Because if it does and Zillow prints it and they get sued, you just agreed to indemnify them. Yeah. This is another favorite. So you read through these terms, and then you think, okay, I'm aware of this, but here's another nugget for you. They reserve the right to change these terms by just changing the information on the website. So when by putting the listing on Zillow, you've agreed to all the terms, and you've agreed to allow them to change the terms at any time. But they're not going to call you up, Brad. By the way, things are different now. We actually have a new site called fizbo.com, and we're going to send your listings there, but you agreed to that. You won't even know that because they're not going to tell you. They will display it on their website, but you've got to go to that website every single day and look at the terms of use. Let's see. Zillow will retain the rights, perpetual license to use, copy, distribute, publicly display, perform, and create derivative works of that basic data. So it's a little bit scary. So for anyone who has gone to the Zillow site and put your listing on there because it wasn't displaying, you agreed to all of this, and you did it on behalf of yourself, your broker, and the property owner. So when a property owner says, okay, I gotta have my listing on the Zillow site, make sure that they understand what they're agreeing to, that you've sort of given up control of that listing data. So that's the first thing to be concerned about. Here's the second thing to be concerned about. You put your, you work with a website company, an IDX company, and in the fine print of that agreement, you are saying they can do anything they like with the data. And what happens is they're re-syndicating They're relicensing and redistributing that listing information. So you may be signing up for a website company, and the next thing you know, the client's telling you, how come my listings are on this bizarre website that I don't want my listing to be on? And you have no idea how it got there. Well, that's because somewhere in that fine print, in that agreement, you said this company has the right to re-syndicate. The risk there is what happens is they're not getting a data feed from the MLS. So that information isn't being updated. You have a price change. It may never get updated. The property goes pending, it sells. However, it's still out there. There's a buyer out there who's got this property and says, I want it off the internet. I purchased this. I don't want all of my photographs all over on the internet for people to see this house I just bought. There's nothing you can do because you gave up control. So this is a cautionary note to you. Always, if you deal in contracts every day, always, always, always read the fine print. Anything that has to do with the listing that you've taken, make sure you read the fine print. Even if it doesn't seem like it might have something to do with listing syndication, somewhere in there may be something. And you've lost control of it. Okay, so we have a tool called List Hub. List Hub is for brokers. There's a dashboard. They go in, they say, I want my listings to go to the following sites: Trulia, Zillow, Postlets, Craiglets. By the way, Postlets is owned by Zillow. So when you use Postlets, you've also agreed to allow Zillow to have use of your data and all of Zillow's affiliated licensees and brands. And they're acquiring brands at quite a good rate right now. We started negotiating a deal with Trulia last year. This was prior to any acquisition. In fact, there's so much controversy over Trulia and Zillow that we wanted to understand the companies. So the entire executive committee took a couple of road trips. And we went into San Francisco, which is Trulia's headquarters, and we spent the entire day there. We met with their top management, we met with their product developers, we met with their attorneys, industry relations directors. It was a great meeting. We toured the facilities. We walked away with a sense that Trulia was a very realtor-centric, agent-centric company. The next day we flew up to Seattle. We did this on our own dime. Zillow would have paid, but we wanted to go completely neutral. And we spent the day up in Seattle, and it was an entirely different experience. We sat down, and Zillow sort of said, an MLS. Well, what MLS? What do you do? Why are we talking to you? What's your relevance here? We were all very excited because Zillow, a big technology company, we walked away with just this horrible feeling that here's a company that really doesn't understand what it is that agents do or the value of agents. They are a media company that have to sell advertising. And it was just churning. So we decided, yes, we want to work with Trulia. We'll just put Zillow aside for a while. So we started working with Trulia. And then within a month, it was announced that Zillow was acquiring Trulia. And when you have two companies that merge, there's going to be one corporate culture that exists. You can't blend two very dissimilar corporate cultures. And so that's what we're looking at right now, is how well is this blending going to go, and which culture is going to survive. So we started working with Trulia. Because we are in East Bay, we share a database with Contra Costa and East Bay Regional. We were negotiating jointly. We were sort of rushed in the last couple of months because things changed radically. Zillow pulled out of List Hub, which is how your listings were getting there if the broker selected it. And List Hub, which is owned by Realtor.com, you've got to follow the bouncing ball here. Realtor.com owns List Hub. List Hub provides listings to Realtor.com's rivals, Zillow and Trulia. Zillow said they didn't want to do business with List Hub anymore. They're going to go directly to brokers and directly to agents. And List Hub, because of the acquisition of Trulia by Zillow, said they were not going to renew their agreement with Trulia. So in a short period of time, we had to start negotiating with, first of all, Trulia, because the data feed cuts off fastest there. So we agreed to a contract with Trulia. And in that contract, there are a couple of things that we insisted upon. Listing agent contact information, Vicky, is in first place next to the listing. So when you go, if you use the Bridge product to send listings to Trulia, there's a guarantee that your name will always be up there first. So they cannot strip out your information. Now, that's not to say that they're not going to sell other leads underneath that, but your name as a listing agent will always be first. Leads will automatically be sent to the listing agent. You don't have to pay for that. So there's a little box next to agents' names. Leads will automatically, that will be checked. Leads will automatically go there. A direct link back to the broker's website. The agent profile is automatically filled with the sales information. If you have a sold, any solds, that will automatically populate in. Listings are updated every 15 minutes. This was an important one because listings coming in from other sources could be a day, a week, a month old. And that makes you look bad. If you're the listing agent and your client is saying, why is my listing still on here? Why has price change not being reflected? Why is it inaccurate? They blame you. So now Trulia is required to update that information every 15 minutes. Broker metrics are available, so a broker can go in and see how many hits, how many consumer hits have been on his or her listing. There's no perpetual license, and this was an important one for us. Once your listing is off, they have no other, once it's sold, they have no other rights to do anything else with that information. They may not re-syndicate it, they can't send it anywhere else. They indemnify us, we're not indemnifying them, and you don't have to indemnify them. And once the agreement with them has expired, they are required to remove all information, all listing information from their site. So that's what we're working on. We're doing the same thing with Trulia. We are currently in version, 9, 10 of a listing syndication agreement with them. Now that they own Trulia, they're kind of an even more difficult company to work with. I think we're close to an agreement with them. With Zillow. We're close to an agreement with them, and it includes all of these, the same provisions. It also includes language in there that says that it will not compete as an MLS or a brokerage during the term of our agreement and for at least a year afterwards. They keep saying, we don't want to be an MLS, we don't want to be a broker, and so we said, okay, let's put it in writing. So once that agreement is signed, we are hoping that brokers and agents will no longer feel the need to go onto the site and accept those terms of use that I showed you, because you will have the protections of being able to syndicate through the MLS, through the Bridge platform. And again, this is a broker only. Agents aren't able to, because it's only the broker who can technically syndicate that listing. Will no longer have to accept terms of use that cause heartburn for you and your clients. So I've been given the 3-minute warning here. I got tons of other stuff to talk about. I can come back later and talk about it. I just want to see, are there any questions about, yes, Phil, the attorney.
Tricia, is CAR and NAR thinking or looking into creating a form so we can disclose to the sellers the actual clients, the effects and the consequences of putting listings on the internet in general? Because, I mean, just thinking crazy as lawyers do, I can imagine some psycho getting a listing from the internet and then coming in and attacking one of our colleagues or worse yet, the seller, finding it on the internet, things like that, but also the ongoing effect of perhaps an inaccuracy in evaluation.
Yeah, I actually had a conversation, I've had several conversations with CAR's attorney. They are looking at the forms right now. There is a disclosure that they are looking at that could be modified to incorporate some of the concerns that we just spoke about. So that is, the earliest it would happen would be October, but they are taking a look at it. Vicki?
You know, people aren't aware, they don't come to these meetings and they don't get this information. And I think that it needs to be broadcast what is actually happening, because 90% of the villagers probably have no clue what's happening. And because we come to these meetings and we listen to you guys, I think it needs to be, like he says, some kind of a form. When you take that listing, you make a little checkbox of where your client wants to put that property. Because it really isn't up to us, it's up to your client, because they're the ones who's paying the fees, and they're the ones who's telling you what to do.
I'll tell you what, if CAR doesn't do it, this October, I'm going to come back to every single marketing meeting, and we're going to start a petition, and one way or the other, and I don't mean to make that sounds negative, like they're not going to do it. They recognize that it is a threat. Whether or not they're going to be able to do it by October, but if they decide not to, then I will come back to you and say, I need your support to be able to.
Other people aren't aware of those changes because they have no idea that we even need changes. So we thank you so very kindly for seeing it and getting to the bottom of this and taking care of it. Thank you very much.
I love you guys. So my time's up. I've actually got some exciting things to talk to you about on MLS. I will do that at another time. You can always call me, 925-730-4073 if you have questions. And I look forward to coming back and speaking to you again. Have an awesome weekend. Thanks for this opportunity.